The way of my work is a way of effacement, which is a way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is, but through working for me, as you should work for me, you will arrive at that rightness where, in a moment, I can give you that which you have been seeking for millions of years. This is from Godman, page 368. Jai Baba.
That's from the East-West Gathering.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Millions of years, we've been waiting a long time, man.
I always like that sentence. The way of my work is a way of effacement. Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to share yesterday the Prakash and Sailaja sang one song. That's one of the one of the song which composed by Madhusudan in Sanskrit. That is Mehri Ekam Meher Nityam. You know, that song was sang for the first time in the East-West Gathering. So there was so many doubts about his Sanskrit, this thing. So Baba sent that to one of the Sanskrit scholar. And then everybody said it's a perfect. And after singing that song, everybody started, even including Mandali members, they said, for example, Irucham, Varucham, like that they used to call. So that song has become this thing. And my early days, in as early as in 1961, during the Hyderabad Center, that center was in Prakash grandfather's house, the old house at Mat Fort. So after Namo Meher Baba, every day this song, Meher Ekam, Meher Nityam, Meher Satyam, Sundaram. They used to sing the song. It's so touching that Meher Ekam means the only Meher. Meher is the reality. And then, like that, the description of the Baba's praise in Sanskrit. So everyone first initially they started when the Sanskrit this thing sounds tam 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 everything is, so they used to call Irucham Barucham and like that they used to do. That I want to actually yesterday I want to share it, but yesterday because of the paucity of time I didn't. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Thank you.
Apparently, Mehra liked that song also very much. That's what I gathered. Yeah. I mean, she obviously liked a lot of songs. This is one among them.
Hey, it's Farishte. Are you there?
I am here, darling, but I am driving. Yes.
Oh, hey, did you by any chance do a translation of that that ghazal?
I have had a very, very busy day.
Oh, okay.
Hardly home
We'll let
today.
you get away with it this time.
I think so. But I probably will stay up all night translating it, right? No, but I have it identified and it's on my Word document ready to be translated.
This is a great ghazal. Someone did the Falls method for this particular ghazal by Hafiz, and it's about what to do during the pandemic. And it's I mean, they were really serious about this. They don't normally do this, and this is the ghazal that they to. So when she translates it, you know, it may be 3 or 4 months before she does it, but no.
Hey.
So by that time, the pandemic will be over. But anyway, but no, it's very, I mean, I feel like these ghazals from Hafiz is like having interview with a divine being. You know, I mean, they're just facets of the one diamond, you might say.
Jeff, what did you call that? Falls method? Is that what you
The
said?
Falls method is where you open up Hafiz
Oh,
Fall,
the book.
yeah,
where the
FAL,
book
fall.
falls. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not nothing like a disability or something where you fall, but
I see.
yeah,
Oh, that worked beautifully. That
yeah.
the one I'll never forget that beautiful gospel that she read at the when you were at the center asking about the center. Do I have it? About about being in the tall. Oh boy, tall cedars and the evil eye. Well, anyway, she was so spot on that guzzle about
Mhm.
from Hafiz about
Yeah.
the pandemic. I've got it somewhere.
You know, it's interesting, these perfect ones, for them, there was no past, present, future, you know,
Yeah.
so their poetry is timeless,
Yeah.
Right.
but particularly relevant for our time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it must have been relevant at that time too, because the problems of the world are just they seem repetitive. I mean, in some way.
Just leftovers
Yeah.
eaten again and again. Hey, so Telly, are you there? I can see the lotus there, but are you hidden in there somewhere? Whoop.
Hey Jeff, how are
Oh,
you?
there you are. Hey, great. This is Telly. Yeah.
Hi Angela.
Now there's somebody that has got some good songs and everything. So sometime during Artie, if you show up, it'd be great to have you here.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually looking for something else tonight, but I landed here on this page.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of wandered into a local bar when you were intending to go to a department store. Ferris Day, do you have oh, yes, right, you're driving, so there's no way we're going to get a guzzle out of you.
Well, in about 3 minutes, I'll be home,
Oh,
so
okay.
I will be ready with a guzzle before I fall asleep on you like I did last night.
Kelly, do you have any anything there or any
I get
quotes?
I get that one Francis Guzzle from In Dust I Sing.
Yeah.
I dwell in dust and sing, and my song is most sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. I would not wish to be less than the seasons which wait their turn, nor than fire hidden in wood to burst into life and burn. My beloved spins the earth on the tip of one finger. Why should I cry for gifts? He will not forget his singer. They who ask God to fulfill their desires have no faith in him. For the essence of faith is to abide the beloved's whim. I hold my cup for him to fill at his pleasure, now or at world's end. It will be the same full measure. Waiting is easy for me. I spent 1,000,000 years as stone, and then millions more shaping my ears to receive song's golden tone. Now my waiting is praising, and my praising is sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat.
Beautiful. I always thought
Excellent.
about Francis. That was Francis Brabazon, but I always feel if you ever see Francis Brabazon's head bowing down to somebody, you
Yeah.
can be sure it's the avatar, God himself. That head.
That's beautiful, Tally. That's so nice
Yeah.
and so soothing.
Beautiful.
Yes,
I
indeed.
just found that guzzle I was talking
good.
about. It is guzzle 295. It's so beautiful. And you Jeff, asked Fairstay to open the book and or I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if she had this translated, but it was that when you were at the center about the center. Guzzle 295. Once again from the branches of the tall cedar, the patient nightingale cried out in beautiful song, "May the evil eye be averted from the face of the rose. O rose, now that you have blossomed to your heart's content, don't be so unreachable to the longing hearts of your lovers. If the ascetic is hoping for castles and lovely beauties in paradise, for us the tavern is the castle and the beloved our heavenly sweetheart. I am not complaining about your absence. If there is no separation, there is no pleasure in presence. If others are satisfied with worldly festivities and merriment, for us, sadness is a companion and the cause of our delight. Drink wine with the melody of the harp and don't be disheartened. And if anyone tells you not to drink wine, tell them, God is merciful and forgiving. Hafiz, why are you complaining about the sadness of separation? Within separation there is union, and within darkness there is light. That was, that was beautiful.
And that was Fairstay's translation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
Yes, I sent that to you, right? I think I sent it
Yeah.
to you.
Send it to me.
That's
Oh,
right.
Yeah. So here I am in front of my compu. Do you want another one?
Yeah, let's have another Hafiz.
What kindness and mercy was it that suddenly, from the secretion of your pen, you inscribed the compensation for our service and bestowed your grace?
Read that line again.
What kindness and mercy was it that suddenly, from the secretion of your pen, you inscribed the compensation for our service and bestowed your grace? You have sent me a greeting from the tip of your pen. Without your writing, the factory of the universe would not exist. I am not going to say that you remembered me by mistake, for in wisdom's account, there are no mistakes. Do not curse me for being grateful for your gift. Your mercy is eternal and enduring. Come so I may make a pact with your hair, that even if I lost my head, I would not take it off your feet. Your heart will become aware of our condition only when tulips grow in the soil of your grief-martyred lovers. Your heart will become aware of our condition only when tulips grow in the soil of your grief-martyred lovers. Quench the thirst of our soul with a sip. Your eternal life-giving jug gives the purest wine. The breeze divulges tales of your beauty to each rose. When did the adversary allow a tattletale into your sanctuary? My heart is stationed at your door. Please honor it. In the same spirit of gratitude that God has honored you. May you always be merciful, O breath of Christ. Your breath renews the spirit of all tired-hearted lovers. From your hiding spot, your aim is swift and precise, O Hafez. Be careful to not raise any dust from the highway of your non-existence.
Wow. Don't raise any dust from the highway of your non-existence.
Isn't that
Oh
beautiful?
my God. Ooh.
That made it, the last sentence, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice, Farishte.
Very nice. Well done.
Thank you. Telly Fershte has been translating. I mean, she's, comes from the land of Hafiz, and she's been translating these into English in ways that are comprehensible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing I've had trouble with Hafiz, is that I just can't, I just can't, I'm having to put the whole thing together while I'm listening.
Right.
And it takes away from the flow of the feeling of the ghazal.
Right.
But Fershte kind of, brings it down to the level of the layman.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
is Alan Manukian. Oh my God! Speaking of,
There he is. Yeah. Jai Baba.
yeah, and Telly, do you know Alan down there in the third row, third row first?
I think it's in different orders for everybody else.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you talking? Telly?
Kelly, yeah.
Telly Limebach.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
doing?
Fine. How are you, Jay Baba?
Good. Are you in California?
No, Virginia Beach.
Oh, Virginia Beach. Okay.
He's
Wow.
he worked for the Voice of America for your whole career, right? Pretty much.
Almost. Yeah. 33 years.
Ah,
And Baba in India used to listen to the Voice of America.
Hey,
Wow.
Kelly, I don't know if I heard you, but I used to listen to Voice of America all the time back when I lived in Hyderabad. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ah,
Yeah, Voice of America was one of the things I used to listen all the time. Yeah.
yep.
I must have heard you then.
No, you wouldn't have. Well, you might have heard me, but you'd have to be listening to the African
Oh, okay.
podcasts because I was in the African division.
Uh-huh.
But when I was in India in 1987, Mani had asked me to contact a man at VOA who Baba used to really enjoy. He did the breakfast show. And so when I got back to the States, I finally got him by phone and told him. And he was very appreciative of that.
This was a particular broadcaster?
Yeah, a particular broadcaster, I think, did a morning show,
Uh-huh.
breakfast show. And he did it for many years and just, he retired in 1987. So by the time I reached him by phone, he had retired.
Yeah. Do you remember, I mean, what was the spirit that he did the broadcasts?
I don't know, Baba would just point to his throat and go like this. He just really liked the man's voice. And I think the way he presented, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the name, Kelly, by any chance?
I'm trying to remember his name.
Okay.
I just read something where Baba was, somebody wrote about Paul Robeson songs and how Baba would listen to those with some of the early Western mandolin,
Yeah.
and they would be sobbing with him, and he would just say, he said, don't try, don't ever, but just think of, Christ on the cross or something like that. For some reason, he asked them to remember that or to put that image in their mind, and it kind of broke the levee open. And then when he had to leave, they were like basically begging the Indian mandali to not. They said, don't be cruel, don't take him with you, let him stay here with us, please. You're taking our beloved away. And then Chanji and Baba boarded the PO line SS Narkunda for their voyage to India, and Baba had taken those Paul Robeson records back with him. And Chanji observed Baba weep as he listened to one of Robeson's songs, Feed My Children. And this was December 1931.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard Paul Robeson before, and then I just half an hour ago or something heard him for the first time, and I was like, whoa! It's like there's something about the voice, very deep rumble.
Yeah,
It was like thunder. I could feel. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a very deep bass.
Yeah.
Well, it was-
I'm curious about that. Those different voices that Baba would like point to or talk about, or what's that other guy's name? That not Western, but he sang that. I forgot that song. Welcome to My World.
Yeah.
Jim Reeves.
Yeah.
Reeves. Yeah.
Had the same experience when I listened to Jim Reeves the first time. I was like, whoa. It's kind of reverberated through my body.
Yeah, Paul Robeson was a very powerful. I mean, he was quite a soul, and he participated in the labor movement in the country to bring unions to fight the trusts, the antitrust thing. So he would be out there at the rallies. A friend of my dad's would do the speaking, and then he would come along and do the singing.
Oh wow.
At these labor rallies. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a video of him singing to a group of Irish miners. It was pretty cool. Like they're all surrounding him in a factory. He's like singing. They're all like really intent. None of them are distracted whatsoever. There's this whole room of these miners, and they're all just like smoking their cigarettes and staring, and some of them with smiles, and others with just like their mouths open. Like, I was like, wow, that's I don't know what kind of work he's doing.
There are a bunch of songs that Baba actually liked, sung by Paul Robeson. There is a CD that's available which says American songs that Baba liked, or something to that effect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, here I have 5 songs. You Are the Top, Old Man River.
Well, that's
Swing,
one of the famous ones.
yeah, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Joshua Fit the Bottle of Jericho. Hear the Lambs a Crying. Yeah, I have these songs here right in front.
Do you have? Can you play one of them for us?
Yeah, I can play one. Let me play one. Yeah. Which one do you want?
Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho.
Okay. Give me a second. Let me share the screen first. And 1 second.
And the walls came tumbling down.
Here it is. Share computer sound and
Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down. That morning Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Oh yes, so glad that Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down. You may talk about your king of Gideon, you may talk about your man of Saul. There's none like good old Joshua at the battle of Jericho. Up to the walls of Jericho he marched with spear in hand. Go below them rams, on Joshua cried, 'cause the battle am in my hand. Then the lamb sheep horns begin to sound. Joshua commanded the children to shout, and the walls come a-tumbling down. That morning Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Oh yes, so glad that Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down. That morning Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Oh yes, so glad that Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down. A good morning, brother pilgrim, pray tell me where you're bound. Tell me where you're traveling to on the disenchanted ground. My name it is bold pilgrim, to Canaan I am bound, traveling through this wilderness on the disenchanted ground. That morning Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Oh yes, so glad that Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down. That morning Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Oh yes, so glad that Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come a-tumbling down.
Okay, well, so that's one of them.
How about, just do one more. How about Deep River?
Okay. The deep river, let me see.
Deep River. I think I
I
saw.
mean, it has old man
Oh,
river.
Old Man River. Yeah, Old
Okay.
Man River.
1 second.
I can see you, Dinku.
There's an old man called Mississippi. That's the old man that I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got troubles? What does he care if the land ain't free? Old Man River, that old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling, he keeps on rolling along. He don't plant taters, he don't plant cotton, and damn that planter is soon forgotten. But Old Man River, he just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and wrecked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, get a little drunk, and you land in jail. I get weary and sick of trying, tired of living, tired of dying, but Old Man River, he just keeps rolling along. Let me go away from the Mississippi, let me go away from the white man boss. Show me that stream called the River Jordan, that's the old stream that I longed to cross. Old Man River, that old Man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Told that barge and lift that bale, we gets a little drunk and we lands in jail. I get weary and sick of crying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. The old man river, he just keeps rolling on.
Oh, wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, boy, I hadn't heard that in years.
There are a bunch of songs, actually, about 20 of them. That there is a CD that I got from somewhere, I guess Nosh, and beautiful songs out there. I mean, a lot of them I don't know actually, except Jim Reeves and and you know the
I
beginning
used to sing
song.
that one at Marizod. Que sera, sera.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever will be,
There will be.
the future's not ours to see. Que sera.
That was a dark day.
Wasn't that Debbie Reynolds who sang that?
Day.
Doris Day, I think.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
that's
Doris
right.
Day. Sorry, yeah.
Wow, what a world. What an era.
Jeff, I just want to ask, I know the N word is not used anymore, but are these still called Negro spirituals or is it something else now?
Yeah, Negro spirituals.
Yeah,
That,
okay.
I think that stayed true. Negro spirituals.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah,
Always did.
yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I happen to remember there was one of a longtime follower of Bob, a very dear named Ella Winterfeld.
Mm.
And one time, Baba called her over, you know, with kind of a stern look on his face, and she was getting more and more tense, and she had her arms behind her back, you know, and Baba, you know, she came in front of Baba, and Baba said, "Relax." But he kind of brought all of her anxiety up and said, "Relax." Now, and she was one who really worried a lot, but that word became kind of one of the themes of her life. And, you know, I often think of, you know, like it's so important to remain relaxed at the innermost level. I mean, I'm always kind of reminding myself, just relax. I mean, it's a place within us. And I think of consciousness, when we're relaxed, consciousness is in that kind of timeless, spacious place. But what happens is if the body gets troubled, that consciousness has to go over and attend to it. Or if the feelings are disturbed, the consciousness has to leave that place and go over and attend to it. And so the more we can be detached from how we're feeling and what, you know, what we're going through, the less our consciousness has to go and put out all these fires. But its natural state is, I would say, a state of joy. But she'd say relax. But Ella would, being German, she'd say relax. Relax.
So the theme is be concerned but be detached at the same
What's
time.
that?
Right? I mean, the theme seems like be concerned and also but be detached at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes detachment can also lead one to be not concerned, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm afraid sometimes I fall into that category, and I want to be a little more concerned than I am.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. To be empathetic, but relaxed, but empathetic.
Yeah.
Is a good combination. Alan, anything come up at work today? Did they fry your brains?
You know, it's just I think it was a good day today. I just, you know, working more on not complaining about my lot as much, and just focusing on. I've been focusing on sometimes in the midst of, you know, a high tense or stress situation, I'll uh, uh, I'll just suddenly kind of look away from my screen or whatever I'm doing, and then um, there's an image of Baba, and I'll share it with you, but I haven't really shared it with anyone. But I mean, right now the episode, I could say the episode is, um, I look up in these moments, and I see Baba at a windowsill, and it's like I think around 1932, and he's wearing a white flowing sadra, and there's window particularly coming in from the window. There's wind coming in through the window from uh, the sea breeze. There's an ocean, and it's sort of these two old style windows, and he's looking out the window, and he's got one hand on his hip, and he's kind of looking out, and then he looks at me, and I've been sort of seeing that particular image come up, and it's like a live frame. But then the more when I have moments where I can really kind of sit and focus with it, I can see the rest play out, and I see that I walk towards him, and I kind of look out the window, and it's just this the next part that I'm at, I guess, is I see this like vast, there's like this beautiful terrace, and this, I don't know what it is. It's like beautiful building, um, and then there's just the ocean, and but it's just the sense of the feeling of not only being there with him, but the natural beauty, of course, the feeling of the breeze and the mist and the humidity of the air, and his warmth, and mixed in with it. It just feels like a very, like a dream that you'd want to have, like one of the best, like a very, very beautiful dream. It's like a fine wine or fine dinner that you get of the senses, rather than uh, you know, it, but it's beyond the senses. So that's been happening lately. It helps me get through my day.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, to be able to slip out of the rat race and have a moment with Baba like that. Sounds
Yeah.
like you could have even been there. Just um,
Yeah, I figure even if it's just my imagination, it's like, well, it feels real enough.
yeah,
Feels real enough in that moment to completely divert all of my, um, you know, because you think you can't get over certain challenges or certain people's in your own, you know, obstacles that are just so, just in the moment, it just feels like I'm not gonna bend to this, you know, like I'm right about this, or, you know, these people aren't doing it right, and I'm telling you this is the right way, and then I'll just be stuck in these. Usually when I get into those like these two ram heads in my mind, or it's like this, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let go, and I'm not gonna, you know, when I'm most inflexible is when sometimes those moments pop in, and it just sort of diverts it all, and then yeah, so what that happened today, and I had a little bit more time, a little more moments to kind of sit there with and be with him, um, and usually, you know, the technicians that work under me, they call me for about 30 seconds. You know, they really, they don't want to talk about much. You know, they're like, I got the job done. All right, I'm going on to the next thing. All right, and they hang up. But today I noticed I was kind of sitting in that. Um, I don't know. I was just sitting there with Bob, and then the guy called me, and it's one of the technicians that likes to talk the least. He's a no BS kind of guy, and so he gets on the phone with me, and all of a sudden he starts telling me about his day and starts telling me about the particular repair that he's doing, and I have no idea because I haven't, he's talking about this and going in the details, and he's like, and they weren't home, this and that, and he's like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, but I was kind of still in that place, with Baba, and so I was just there listening, and he was like, all right, man, well, I just want to say thank you, and I'll talk to you later. I'm like, what? This guy's never said thank you. It's just. So it's just like, I think it's just Baba's grace, and like I'm reading here in the Everything and the Nothing that you guys had brought up yesterday. When your life, and this is something I'd like to ask you, Jeff, or anybody who'd like to answer or has any thoughts about it. When your life presents an honest and sincere picture of your mind and heart, just an embrace from a perfect master is enough to quicken the spirit. To quicken the spirit. When I, the Ancient One, embrace you, I awaken something within you which gradually grows. It is the seed of love that I have sown. There is a long period and a great distance between the breaking open of the seed and its flowering and fruiting. Actually, the goal is neither far nor near, and there is no distance to cross nor time to count. In eternity, all is here and now. You have simply to become that which you are. You are God, the infinite existence. So it's a lot of what we've talked about in the past about the eternal now, Jeff. Like to kind of changing the track of where you're looking at, your life from. But something about that is very, very potent to me. Once I, the Ancient One, embrace you, I awaken something within you which gradually grows. I mean, is that considered an embrace? That moment I'm talking about, is that what Bob was talking about? Is that a moment of embrace? Is that just my imagination? I don't know.
I mean, it could be figuratively and an actual embrace. An actual embrace imparts that love. I mean, all the people that have been embraced by Baba, I mean, that over the years, those embraces just are eternally imprinted on their being. They can just go back there to that embrace. Adi used to have this line, I think I've mentioned it before, conviction in darkness is God realization in disguise. To know that Baba is God in this darkness is really God realization in disguise. It's there. It's just the seed is there, and not only that. I mean, it's the flower is there, and eventually all the layers get peeled away, and the flower is left. But the flower is already there, implanted by him. A beautiful thing. I mean, that was a kind of an extraordinary thing that Adi would say. That conviction, to know that Baba is God, is God realization in disguise, and you go around and you kind of know that. It's remarkable.
I think it's interesting to note, like, I thought about it when yesterday in that recording of Adi, when he was pointing to each person and he was like, "Do you want God or do you want Baba?" And then and they were like, "Which one do you choose?" And they had to kind of in the moment like and I think to myself, like, in my life, I feel like I've just felt more of a sense of, if I think back on my own life, just my whole life, I've really just wanted to, I use the words like, I just really want to be with you, God. I just want to be with you. And it's less of the, for me personally, it's less of the God realization part. I don't know. I don't know if it's one and the same thing, to be with God and then God realization. But for me, it seems like a different sense.
Yeah, it was funny because some people would say God, and some others would say Baba.
Yeah.
Coming out of the crowd, some people wanted God, and some people wanted Baba. Who do you know?
I think one of the advantages, I mean, I don't know, both apparently seem right, but the advantage of the form is that there is some direct relatedness. I mean, there is something you can connect to. Being in the gross world, for a lot of people, I guess, the direct connection to a form becomes much easier. I mean, otherwise it's so abstract. It can be a
Yeah.
little daunting. Yeah.
But I
I
mean in
have
the
another
physical
question.
sense though, the
Right,
physical
right.
sense of like being with Baba, like for me, I have a sense like I just want to be with Baba. I want to be around him and be in his presence. But I don't have the sense that like I want to go to Baba so that I can receive God realization,
Right.
or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the difference for me. I don't know if I'm just trying to figure that out, like if other people have come across that.
Yeah. No. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but there was one guy named Pleader who came to Bob in the 20s, and he wanted God realization. He was like really bent on getting realization. And Bob said he would give it to him. And he put him out in the post office room, and he was there for, I think, a couple of years maybe, drinking just milk and the whole thing. And years rolled by, and then he went back to Bombay where he had lived, and in 1938, he came to Mehrabad. He must have seen Baba in intervening, but on this occasion, and he was there with Baba, and he said, "Baba, you said you were going to give me God realization. I haven't got it yet, and he's there, and this is when Pendu was in charge of putting the second floor on the water tower and creating the place that would become Baba's tomb. He was in the middle of that. And while Pleader was asking Baba, telling Baba that he promised to give him God realization, in the middle of this, he called Pendu over and said, "What do you want, Pendu? I mean, with the idea, I'll give you anything. What do you want?" And Pendu said, "Nothing," and then went off and continued his work. So you got one guy wanting God realization, and one of his most intimate disciples doesn't want anything. Because, I mean, my feeling about him, they would rather postpone realization as long as possible so that they could have the opportunity to love and serve Baba as much as they could before the alarm goes off. So they've got a whole different approach.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, because every little bit that they do, they know every little bit that they do makes it Baba when he comes again, and even now, that much a little less suffering for him to be in this world when he comes to be in this world. So they have a whole different approach.
Yeah.
It was funny between Pleader and Baba, right? I mean, Pleader would always sort of not accuse, but at least indicate to Baba that you haven't given me what you said you would.
Yeah.
And and then Baba said, "I'll never break my promise." I mean, that's what he said. I mean, and at the end, I think when he dies, I mean, he does indicate to somebody close by, saying that thank you, Baba, for giving me that realization. And I think that's what he indicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bao Kalchuri happened to be sick, and Plater was sent out to to Mehrabad in one of those side rooms where we used to stay in the 70s.
Mm.
And Bao was in there with Pleater. Both were sick. And in the middle of the night, Pleater starts yelling, "Turn off the lights, turn off the lights, turn off the lights." And he died.
Mm.
And Bao felt that Baba gave him realization because it was pitch dark. He's yelling about being too bright.
Wow.
So Baba did fulfill that, but I always felt myself, I've always most attracted to Baba the man. That's my.
Yeah.
I kind of had the sense of his divinity, but the man is what I was most attracted to.
Yeah,
I
there's a
have,
whole buzz. Oh, go ahead, Prakash.
Yeah.
no, I have
Kelly,
general.
Kelly, if were you going to break in here? Don't hesitate.
Now, when you were talking earlier about the seed, I remember the quote that you gave about Baba that he said, seeds germinate in soft soil. I plant the seed of my love, not in your strengths, but in your weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so naturally, we're going to struggle with what our weakness is in order to unfold that love.
Yeah, the light comes in through the wound.
Yeah, right.
That's what Rumi said.
Right.
That's a great reminder. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, what does it really mean, planting the seed in your weaknesses?
I mean, it can get planted in there because that's where you're most vulnerable. When you're in a state of need, there's a line from Rumi where he says, without need, God gives nothing.
Mm.
It's the state of need that allows him to implant his seed. Not like, you're robust and strong and everything, and, your chest is sticking out. It's when you're bent over that love comes.
So, in the sense that weaknesses are the activities that we are mostly engaged in, and that seed of love he plants probably can be more easily realized because we know the activity that compels us to be part of. I mean, weakness and whatever. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Vulnerability, yeah. Hey, Mayor Prasad is coming. Janet Jacobs, are you there? She's from Colorado. And Mayor Prasad is from Seattle. Hey, there's Mayor Prasad. Hey. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that buzz, when he's on the earth, and it's very, very palpable. When just, I feel like that's one of the things when I first came to Baba, I one of the things that I was most saddened by or felt most heavy in my heart was this sense of what it was like when he was on earth, and this tangible buzz that you could feel, kind of like what you were talking about with Darwin, where he had a sense of someone who'd come in on a plane somewhere, and he could sense that they had, you know, they had brought a certain level of love, you know, that they were radiating. It's like Baba was radiating that while being in a human form, and him not being in a human form now, it's like, I think that for me, I had to take a few weeks to get over that that sadness that I felt, where I was like, well, but it's also inspiring, because it's not like he really went anywhere. I mean, the form did, but yeah, he's still just as present. So I try to remind myself of that every day.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I know Darwin used to say there was just like nothing like being physically with Baba. I mean, he didn't tell us that. He didn't say that publicly, but you know, just the aliveness of being in a room with Baba. I mean, or with him walking in. You know.
Hi, Jeff. I'm here.
Yeah.
It's Janet.
Good. Yeah, nice to see you. And
Nice to see you too. I really appreciated your comment about Ella Winterfeld and the relax, and how that, see if I have it correct, that by relaxing, then a deeper consciousness comes. How did you put that about consciousness when you relax?
it's like when you're relaxed, in a way, your consciousness is not preoccupied with anything.
Yeah,
You know, it's in a state of joy, you might say.
yeah.
But then what happens is that if there's some fire that's going on in the feelings or the body, the consciousness has to leave the joy and go out and put the fire out. So
Right.
all the time, consciousness is going out, you know, working on all sorts of things when it could just be back there, just in a state of being. It's, you know, out having to, that's why I try to stay as quiet on the inside so that my consciousness can stay there. But if I get disturbed by something, then my consciousness has to leave that place of quiet and go out and then deal with this disturbance.
Right. I totally understand what you're saying. Believe me.
I know.
In terms of the disturbance part, particularly, I understand.
And that's why it's really good to be detached from things, so that even though these terrible things happen, you don't get disturbed by them.
But it's like someone was saying that, but you still want to maintain enough connection with everything to know what we're needing to learn from it, and that's our vulnerable spot, that's where we want it, that the place where the seed starts growing more. And so it's that balance in between. I mean, the detached can become, for me, a little bit like having my head in the sand, rather than a detached awareness that's really connected to the reality and caring about the reality, but giving Baba the room to work that, rather than me thinking that that's my job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. I would say an empathetic detachment.
Right.
A loving detachment, meaning, you know, I think of, I mean, one of the images I have of Darwin, but I'm sure also the other Mandali, is like in the morning, he and Baba would chop up all these vegetables, put them in a Teflon pan, you know, and saute them up, and then go out and serve everybody all day love in a, you know, form of, and at the end of the day, you just turn the frying pan upside down, wipe it a little bit. In other words, nothing has stuck to the skillet.
Okay, I was taking this as a true story. You're taking it as a symbolic story.
Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Yeah, metaphor. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
In other words, nothing sticks, and yet
Right.
you're serving from the skillet and everything, but nothing sticks. So
Right.
you're engaged in life, but it's like nothing really sticks to you.
So you're engaged in life, but you're anchored. Your consciousness is anchored in the connection with Baba.
Yeah. At that still quiet place within.
Yeah.
You can be in the eye of a hurricane and be quite calm.
Right. I don't know. A person can. I don't know if you want to say I can.
Well, I'm thinking of the emotional
I know
turmoil.
what you're saying. I'm just
Yeah.
making a joke that
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm capable of that personally, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a wonderful way to um, uh, to kind of picture it and perceive it and know the possibility of it. And my own experience is that sometimes I can do it. I mean, within the same day, I had done it today, for example, several times. And then by the end of the day, it was sticking.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I know that's why that internal.
It,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Is that Mayor Prasad?
oh, yeah. I remember Irich while telling the story of how Gustaji came to Baba, he refers to this distraction versus disturbance aspect. And it really struck me as something that's very different between the two. He said that there comes a point in people's lives where and this came in Upasani Maharaj's life, where distractions are not distractions anymore. They are just disturbances. He said that there's a difference between the two. I couldn't really grasp that, but he said that Upasani Maharaj, when he was in the Vithoba, he would put a human poop outside, plastered all over, so that people won't come and pester him on various things. So it was not a distraction for him, it was just a disturbance for him. That's what he was saying.
Yeah,
And he said that there will come a point in people's lives where they are. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead. There'll come a point in someone's life.
Yeah, he was saying that there will come a point in someone's life that distractions are not distractions anymore. They are just a disturbance.
Yeah. Well, you're not lured into them as a distraction. You might have, been tempted about going into a bar and drinking all evening long to distract yourself, and then later on, when later on it becomes a disturbance. You don't want to do it anymore. You find it disturbing rather than a distraction that you can kind of get into. I mean, I find, for example, I find that like things that have a lot of excitement to them. I'm talking about a kind of vibration of excitement. Movies that are just all kind of so tightly edited, and there are all sorts of distraction. I just find that and a lot of people get lured into that, and I just find it disturbing. I just don't go there anymore. I like kind of things that are tranquil rather than things that are the excitable. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Jeff, what
yeah.
if you are in a situation where the person closest to you is in a diametrically opposite pole of um, relating to things, or their, just the way they take information in or process it or whatever. Very different. And what's the magic formula for not being triggered by that?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've said over and over again, when I first came here to the center, I thought Baba would collect the cream of the crop of humanity here. And I found kind of shortly, I mean, fairly quickly, that he collected a cross section of humanity.
But you
And
didn't have to go home with them, Jeff.
but I had to, what I had to do, and I'm not saying this, I had to lower my standards, my expectations of others. Year by year, it took me about 20 years to lower my standards so I could enjoy the company of most everybody. It's our standards, our expectations.
Yeah.
You know, they have to be lowered so much so you can keep the expectations for yourself. Even that's not so good if you get, a little too strict about it. But if you're going to enjoy I mean,
I
for me,
think
I'm just saying, for me to enjoy my fellow Baba lovers, I had to lower a lot of my values and a lot of my expectations of how they should take things, how they, you know,
I
how
think
they behave and everything, so that
hey
that
Jeff,
bother me. Yeah,
Jeff, I think it's probably not a lowering of expectations that you did. I think you raised your uh, level of acceptance
yeah,
that people normally have. I think your acceptance levels have probably are
yeah,
much
yeah,
higher level than normal.
yeah. That was good. That's good. That's a better way of putting it. I mean, while you're lowering your expectations, you're increasing your cap- capacity for acceptance. And
Yeah.
after a while, you can see why people are the way they are. I mean, you can't expect your dog to talk. It's just not. It's ridiculous. And there's certain people, even though they have a coat and tie just like you, there's certain things they're just not going to be able to do. And to expect them to do that is to be disappointed and upset and disturbed.
That's
But
very fortunate to have that kind of
I mean, I would
to
say
be able to.
Baba had me at it for about 20 years. So that, but that way, yeah, I mean, luckily being here, you have to connect with people, at the center. So I couldn't be in being critical, heavily critical or judgmental of my fellow Baba lovers. That is just the antithesis of a give and take of love. Yeah, Telly.
No,
Oh,
I was just assenting with a uh-huh.
oh,
Yeah, it's hard to let go of judgment, and
it's the curse
it's
of Baba lovers.
it's the curse of the discursive mind, the ego.
Yeah.
It's just it's the default setting for the ego to judge.
Yeah, and it's not, you can say, it's that we shouldn't do this. These are kind of like behavioral things, but the what can I say? The reason for doing it is not that you don't want to be judgmental. The reason you want to do it is you want to be loving, so that you want to give and take of love. That's driving it. Thou shalt not. I mean, Baba says not to backbite. Uh, and you can do that, a person can do that, but love will love will keep you from doing that.
Mm.
Love is how you get there. I mean, you can do it. You can do it in name. I mean, we can not backbite, but it's not ever really complete until you actually love people, and so you just won't backbite because you love them enough that you're not going to do that. You know.
And you, I guess have to learn to just not go in the alleys that you know is going to end up in a dead end. You know, just go in alleys that you find common ground in.
Yeah.
I guess just to learn that you just, like you said, the person is going to be the way they are, and you're not gonna get them to see things your way, or you see it their way. So why even bother trying? Just avoid those alleys.
Yeah. I mean, I've said that I've got people in my neighborhood whose political ideology is completely different from mine, but I don't go there because I have a neighborliness, a kind of give and take of love. I'll go for that. If I get them on the ideological thing, we probably wouldn't be. That guy person probably wouldn't speak to me anymore. So yeah,
No, but I think, but uh, Farishta, uh, it's not easy to avoid, right? They do keep coming up in your daily life pretty often, actually. I mean, I don't know. It requires a whole lot of tact and some sort of gift from Baba to go along with everything that happens around. I have a
I
relative.
mean, you don't want to turn into a blob doormat either. Like J Baba ad nauseum type of person that, is like sweet, but not meaning, like, where do you find that genuine common denominator that is comfortable and satisfying? It's like, anyway, I have problems.
No, Farishte, I'm 100% with you. I have problems
yeah,
too. I,
yeah.
I know a Baba lover back home. I mean, so deeply in love with Baba, I can't doubt that for a moment. But then try to deal with him, it can be very difficult because either I am wrong or he's wrong, who knows, but it just doesn't work. I mean, the way things happen when you're around with, at least when I was around with this gentleman. And I don't doubt his love for Baba. It's probably much more than I do. Uh, but just these things, they just happen. I mean, I think we have to just derive that strength from Baba to just maneuver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell you something interesting, just to kind of put this into a really larger context. There was there was a group that used to come to India for Amartithi, the Society for Avatar Mayor Baba. It was very strict sort of a group, kind of a little bit unusual, um, and but they were excellent craftsmen, and they'd put on magnificent shows. Because they were very talented, creative, and they had all the tech stuff down. And they would go to India for Amartithi every year and bring all this equipment, and they would do plays and music and all of that for for this huge gathering. And but what they would do is, since they had come 10,000 miles, they kind of, instead of getting at the back of the line, which sometimes went all the way down to the railroad tracks, I mean, it could take hours, they would kind of get up closer to the tomb and kind of butt in line. And years rolled by, this was what they would do. And so at one point, Anna Rosa, who was the head of this group, she came into the trust and, she said, Erich, is there anything that we can do? Offering, can we be of help in some way? And Erich kind of pauses and he says, yeah, yes, there is one thing that you could do. What is it? What can we'll do it? Would you stay in line, take your place in line like everybody else and not kind of crowd in line? And she said, okay, oh, yes, we won't do that anymore, So she was very apologetic. And then a buddy of mine who was there, who was working at the trust, Steve Klein, said, after she left, Steve said, Erich, they've been doing this for the last 11 years. Why didn't you tell her 11 years ago? Erich said, but she never asked.
Wow.
This is the first time she asked.
Wow.
That's how difficult it is. You think that you could change somebody. Oh, like say somebody that just gets a hold of the microphone and talks all the time and takes all the oxygen out of the room. You may know that. They may have been that way for 10 or 15 years. But, just to say stop talking all the time is not going to work. You have to wait until they ask. Because when they ask, when they say, well, I don't have any friends. People don't like to be with me. When they say that, then you can say, well, maybe, and Erich would use the word maybe. Maybe you should let other people speak, talk. And that's their moment when their soul is ready to hear. Mm-hmm. Not to be corrected. If you correct somebody, they can change their behavior when they're around you, but they're going to continue it for everybody else. So you haven't helped the situation. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Fair State, does that make sense?
It does.
You waited 11 years to tell somebody something because they have to wait until there's a willingness to hear.
Yep. I may be waiting forever, but I guess that's the only way.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
But knowing that you have to wait rather than plotting, now when am I going to tell this jerk, that stop doing that, what am I going to, when you know that you might have to wait, and even the Mandalay have had to wait, it'll temper your reaction.
All right. Well, yeah. I guess I have to just put a sign all over to remind myself to wait and be patient and wait for an opening. Because you're right. There is no opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so well, what's that saying on the AA? God grant me the something in the wisdom to know the difference.
The serenity prayer.
Yes, serenity prayer. And Baba said something very much like that. What
did Baba say?
I just know that Baba said something very much like that. I think in his a message to youth, to know when you have to accept the inevitable, when there's opening for change, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right.
That's beautiful. That's real wisdom. Yeah. That's, instead of just keep banging your head against the wall and the resistance gets bigger instead of, you're not really changing them. You're just making them more resistant.
Yeah.
With some people, one particular friend for me in the past, he was very, very close to me. I had to just literally just kind of walk away. I couldn't be his friend anymore, even though we were, very, very close. And, and he's not asked me you know, is there some reason why you've distanced yourself from me? It's always just kind of like pretend that nothing's happened, even though he recognizes that obviously there's a big distance between us now. He's never asked me, you know, hey, what happened? Like, is there something we can talk about? Or it's never been like that. It's just like pretend, you know, it's just weird when people pretend like nothing's happened. They're like, hey, so you want to hang out today? Like, no, I don't. But I don't feel like I want to get into it either, you know, like just doesn't seem like the right thing to criticize, or it's just, but it was just too much, you know, it's just too much for me to not enough reciprocation in many levels. When the reciprocation wasn't there and it was like kind of daunting and very heavy and tiring and energy loss for me to be around this person, then I was like, I can't keep trying to keep the walls up on this thing. Like I'm just, every time I'm around them, there's just this thing. It's just very hard to be around. So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I've tried many years to be patient or to see in a different way, or you know, yeah, just wait for them to change, or I don't know, but it just didn't happen. And then I just found myself getting more and more defeated feeling and not well. And then I was like,
It's
I don't
very
know.
hard to, I mean, what I learned from the Mandali is at an inner level, remain open to somebody, but even if you have to keep an external distance. What happens is that we keep an external distance, and then in our heart, shrinks down to the distance.
Yeah.
That's, in other words, I mean, what I gathered from Erich, and to flow through people, to flow, so your consciousness doesn't just hit that person and stop. It should flow through them, even if you have to keep an external distance.
Well, when it stops, does that what builds resentment and like hatred?
Wait 1 second.
Oh, Bella, you hungry?
No, I mean, what I gathered from the Mandali, whoever you don't flow out to, you diminish yourself by that much.
You mean if
Like
you have a hatred for a particular person to that extent, you're saying you're hating yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard for me to understand that particular concept about hating oneself.
If you no, but that means that person, if you don't flow through them, you're that much smaller. That means you can't love someone that you hate. Say if you're grown up and you don't like kids because they make too much noise and they're running around and everything, and so you react to them, then you're cutting off the child in yourself. You know, with serious consequences. You know, I mean, but I know this a couple of years ago, some years ago, I was walking from the tomb back to the Pilgrim Center, and just walking across the field there, and Baba flashed to me, don't look at anything in this world unless you're prepared to send it love. Wow, I mean,
That's the PhD level.
I was surprised. I mean, it certainly wasn't my thought. Don't look at anything unless you're prepared to, well, make sacrifices for the well-being. I mean, Baba was catching me, like, you're looking at, you know, something critically. So you're just stopping short. You just keep cutting your consciousness short. It's not, the flow is broken every time you react. and that's disturbing to the soul.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I have a question.
Mm.
You know, they say the world is the way your mind projects it.
What's that?
So the world is the way your mind projects it. I mean, you project the world. I mean, you create the world, basically. And what you see is the way your mind starts to, you know, present it to you, sort of. If that's the case, I mean, if I see a lot of things that seem not too much to my liking, does that mean that I have all that stuff in me? I mean, that's the reason why I'm seeing it. I mean, that's the reason why that's the kind of world I'm projecting.
I would say yes.
But isn't it possible that the world just doesn't match your inner ideal? So, I mean, it could be the other way around. It could be that your inner is just one way and it doesn't match with your outer. You want it to be reflect outer and
Well,
everything to be just, you know, sweet and wine flowing and love and beauty, appreciation of art, music, love, you know, all that stuff. But the outer world is not that way, you know, it's not that way. So
yeah.
what about then?
Well, there really isn't any separation. We kind of believe that there's a separation, but the world that you see out there is it mirrors your interior. Now it'll all but your entire interior, not
But I
just
mean, okay, so you said you lowered your expectations. What does that mean? Did you lower your inner self?
no.
Because your outer self and inner self didn't match, so you had to lower your expectation. Doesn't that diminish you?
No. Um, I mean, I like what Mayor Prasad said. The my level of acceptance increased so that I could participate more fully in the world. In other words, if there are things out there I don't accept, I'm cutting myself off in different places. I mean, Baba says everybody is within us.
Yeah, and also everybody's at different levels of consciousness or different levels of their sanskaric unfoldment. I mean, how mathematically, logically, it doesn't make sense that people's sanskaric unfoldments are the reflection of my sanskaric. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm having
Well,
a hard time with this.
yeah, no, it's if you think of yourself as separate, then those people are definitely different. But they're well, I'm just saying, and I gathered this from Erich too. Everyone is you, or everyone is Baba in disguise. I mean, but now that's a good theory and everything, but to be able to get closer to experiencing that, so it's an experiential thing. But everybody is Baba in disguise.
Well, how do we knock some Baba sense into people?
Well, I mean, just clobbering someone over the head with God speaks helps sometimes. No, see, because there are people coming in from the animal kingdom, and there are people that are graduating into the divine ocean.
I
You're
used
always
to say this, you know, I used to say this, that, you know, some of us are in kindergarten and the other ones are getting their PhD. And why should I expect everyone to act and be the same way? I used to say it, but I can't practice it.
Yeah. Yeah, what we got here, an old buddy of mine said, what we got here, Jeff, is a one-room schoolhouse, all grades going at once. You know, there are people that are trying to study physics over here. There are people that got their easels, they're doing painting, and then there are other people that are coming in and breaking the windows and trashing the whole place. And here we are, and they're all, and I'm trying to concentrate. Would you stop? Would you stop the wars? I want to have. I'm working on my my novel here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a
But
funny
And that's
image.
why it's the razor's edge.
That's a very funny image. Imagining like a college level class trying to teach like quantum mechanics, and then in a preschool schoolyard, and they're just trying to focus on on the assignment, and there's just kids and other people running around and throwing paint and screaming, and you're like,
I, I, I
I
mean,
just
that's what's happening.
That's exactly right.
You know, it really is, and it dry. I mean, for someone that's studying quantum physics, it's just, you know, this is just they're shaking their head. This is, what am I doing in here? You know, isn't there another classroom somewhere?
Hey, we have Marcia that just raised her hand.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something? You have to unmute yourself, Marcia. Your voice is muted. There we go.
Well, wouldn't it be boring if we were all the same, and Baba would be bored? I mean, we're all the same, but we're all different, because it's kind of like we're part of this Baba shuffle.
Yeah.
And I understand what you said when you change your expectations, because everybody's not going to be thinking at the same level, so you can't like get really angry at people because that's just where they're at, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough one though when you're really faced with it. Like if someone's just blatantly rude or angry person. That's a tough one for me. Where I just try to be kind. Like I was on the phone with a tenant the other day, and I said hello, and it just went from hello to like hatred really fast for them. Like they just went. They answered the phone, and they're just ready to hate somebody. And I said something like, you know, sir or ma'am, I'm just trying to offer you some help right now for your request, because you put in a request about this. And they just said, no, you're not. You're just trying to, and they just went into a whole hatred sequence. And then they're like, you know, said they had nothing else to say to me, and they hung up on my face. And then I just was like, I don't know. I usually get really, really angry with that. But then I almost like, it's almost like I've felt this, like this bucket of oil being poured on me, onto my heart. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, you know, I'm not going to let this seep in. I'm going to call him the cleaners, which is Baba. I'm going to call him real quick right now before this seeps into like, you know, getting into vengefulness or like rage or something. And it really worked. I don't know, in that moment, it was just particularly that moment. It's not as easy when it comes to like, you know, your marriage. That doesn't happen like that for me, you know, in certain conversations with my wife. Sometimes it's just not, I don't know. Sometimes that's even, I think Baba stirs it up on purpose in that regard, you know, because he's working things out between us.
You know, I mean, there's such I mean, a real vast difference between, like, you can get angry, but do you carry the anger? That you know, you can yell out and everything like that, but it doesn't, like if you get angry at somebody and then it stays with you, and then you're plotting ways to get back at them. That's a different kind of anger than one where you're angry, but it doesn't go heart deep. You know, it's skin deep, but it's not. But the conversion from heart deep anger to skin deep anger is I think part of the transition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heart deep fear as opposed to skin deep fear. You know, I mean, that's like a transition. You know, you might be kind of superficially scared of something and you express it, but it's not like it feeds a deeper fear at the heart level.
Well, it's like unwinding sanskaras, it sounds like, you know. If
Yeah.
you keep on going deep, you're just tightening those sanskaras versus letting them loosen up and,
Yeah.
you know, more spacious.
Yeah. And I think we move. It's if you say, well, I'm not going to express any anger. Baba doesn't want me to express any anger. That may be, you know, too high an ideal, but you can at least have the anger that's expressed more skin deep and not something that you carry for months and months or years. I mean, that's a different.
Yeah.
Alan,
Did,
whenever
yeah,
I think about dealing with a person on the phone, like, because we get last before we get to you, when you're trying to help people. Oh, go ahead. What?
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Yeah.
I have to find you on mute. And then,
We can hear you, but it's a little muffled.
You muted yourself.
Now you're muted, Marcia.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
much better.
Oh, okay. First of all, Alan, you helped me a lot because sometimes, like as a senior, and you get on the phone and right away, before you can talk to a person, you talk to a lot of computers. So by the time you get to us, like we're really angry at the computer, not you. But anyway, because now of listening to you, I'm more conscious when I talk to people to just really be nice and friendly and not get excited and not get mad at you. You know, but that's, and yeah, and there was one more thing I had to say, but I can't remember. So
Oh, who
but
knows? Maybe we've spoken before, Marcia.
I hope I hope I haven't been
Just,
I hope I
I'm
haven't
just
been
kidding.
angry at you.
I'm just kidding. No, I can always tell. I can always tell when it's, you know, it's just sometimes it's, especially with what's going on now. There's definitely a lot of tension in the air. So you know, Baba just is helping me to keep my perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
on the heart deep and skin deep, do you think that hatred is always heart deep? Because, you know, when I'm angry at someone, the inner disturbance is, it doesn't stay for long. It's, you know, it's for a little bit of time. But when I feel to hate somebody, there is a clear inner disturbance that remains for a longer time until that hatred goes away. So do you think there's a difference in the heart deep versus skin deep for hatred?
Well, I think that hatred and anger are really basically the same. You know, but you hear someone saying, um, I hate it when they put ketchup on my hot dog. I hate it. You know, but I mean, it's not like, it's not, I mean, some people, they say that. But I mean, they could just as well say, you know, I get angry when someone puts ketchup on my hot dog. I like mustard. I mean, they say, and I agree with this. There are three major emotions, and they're all permutations off of them, and it's actually good to to see these things. There's fear, and fear. There's, like, you know, panic. There are all sorts of permutations of fear. Panic, um, you know, worry is you know, a form of fear. That's one category. Then another one is anger. And then there are all sorts of irritation. It goes all the way from, you know, hatred to irritation, say. And then the other one is sadness. Sadness, grief, uh, you know, those are the three main emotions. They're like in a kaleidoscope, and you get there are three stones in there, and then once they turn, they get infinite variety. But those are the main. So you can pretty much reduce. Give me an emotion, and I'll tell you which of those three it belongs to.
I see. So you're saying basically hatred is just another form of anger, and it's possible to have hatred that's skin deep and not heart deep.
I mean, if it's something that, the way you know it's skin deep is like it doesn't stay with you, But if it stays with you, and you start acting from that, and you develop an attitude towards somebody, then you've taken it into the heart, and that's a more serious, that's a more serious sanskaric complex. But whatever you call it, you know what it is. You know how it manifests in your heart and mind. You know,
That's one of the only things I've ever heard Baba say out loud. Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
out loud.
Mhm.
Bella. My cat's 21 years old, and she's getting more and more
Wow.
scared. But I was saying the only thing that Bob has ever really said to me out loud was the word sadness. And I heard him say, it was like a deep voice, and he had pointed a finger. And that was one of the first things he had said to me when I had that dream, before I was even a Baba lover. So when you said that the kind of the pillars of, just sadness, I'm like, I think that's what I'm working with in this lifetime for myself. Sadness is probably a deep undercurrent that one of my major weaknesses. Still trying to understand that particular dream.
yeah. And sadness is, as I see it, that's one of my deepest emotions is sadness. And sadness shows up most when you are separated from the one you love. So any kind of block that keeps you from enjoying the intimacy with your beloved results in sadness. And sadness means there's one Sufi teacher, he does a very good job of it. Sadness, like his idea is that everybody, people have different core emotions. One person might have the core emotion may be fear. Someone else might have a core emotion of sadness and someone of anger. They can look at the same situation and you'll get three different responses. For example, if there's some kind of dangerous situation, sadness will say, we've lost something here. It believes that it interprets that situation, I stand to lose here. Fear means I'm going to lose it. You haven't lost it. Sadness says you've already lost it. Fear says you're going to lose it. And anger is, oh shoot, I forgot what anger says. Anger says this situation needs to be changed. The same situation. My deepest one is sadness. So I always have to you have to restore what you've lost, or you have to replace something you've lost with something else. For example, I'll put my heart into something and then someone takes that object away. I have to turn my wholeheartedness and get into something new. That's how I resolve the loss. That's how I resolve sadness.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing these things out. They require some deep pondering.
But initially, isn't
I mean,
that
Huh?
hatred? You know, when you initially isn't it hatred or anger when when you put something wholeheartedness into something and someone or something has taken it away? Your initial emotion is going to be anger or hatred, right? Until you put your wholeheartedness into something else.
Yeah. Anger, as I recall, anger wants to change the situation. This shouldn't be this way. Um, I mean, you could be angry that, oh, what can I say? No, I mean, I shouldn't go into this because it's, it's kind of good to ponder these things, but um, I guess I can't quite explain it well enough.
Well, that makes
well,
sense.
I mean, ultimately, I think we are all, I guess, to lesser or greater degrees, we are yearning for union.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest grief. I mean, that's our biggest problem.
Yeah. These are
And then it manifests itself in all kinds of bizarre ways.
yeah, the emotions are kind of sanskaric, so we have to kind of move away from the sanskaric reaction to love that's behind the whole thing. But anyway, I think I better, last time I better go to bed here. But Mayor Prasad, what do you think your core emotion is? Any idea? I mean, I've always known that sadness is kind of my bedrock. This is just as far as emotion. This is not love. This is just the emotion. I'm just talking about the emotional layer.
Yeah, it might be sadness. I haven't really thought about that as much, but I know that my biggest problem is definitely pride. The pride of self-righteousness, pride of intelligence. I know that Baba is working on them like left and right. Um, trying to surface them all the time, and it's so hard to really face them on such a regular frequency that it's really hard
Yeah.
to face my own what do you call the feeling of self-righteousness being exposed all the time is super painful. And the same with the pride of intelligence, or I'm smart. That part being exposed is also very hard.
The thing that I really observed in the mandali, speaking to what you're saying, there's the expression, he doesn't suffer fools. You've ever heard that expression? He doesn't suffer fools. He doesn't tolerate fools. And I was so, the mandali were so compassionate that they were able to suffer fools.
Mm.
They were able to, I mean, the nuttiness, the idiocy of the way we were, and they were able to not hold it against us, and the kind of crazy questions and everything. They they had the ability to suffer fools.
Mm.
They could let people be kind of dumb and superficial and immature, and they didn't hold it against them. They were compassionate enough not to hold that against us.
So can I sign up for that class, please?
They were very good at, I mean, it made a deep impression because I kind of came from an educated background, and by that time, a lot of that had gotten beaten out of me, but still, I just saw that they were very accepting.
You know why, Jeff?
They've been around the block enough times.
Because they were emptied out. There was nothing in them to react. So their vessel was full of Baba's love. So that's all they could exude.
Yeah, and they had the empathy.
Yeah.
They had empathy rather than,
And
just,
it's not like they descended as angels. I mean, they traversed the path of evolution, reincarnation, and involution. And they reached a state where they understood that that is the path that they too walked.
yeah. I mean, even in this lifetime, Baba changed them from being wherever, self-righteous, libertines, sloths, lazy, all sorts of things that we got the finished product. But he started out with some, as Padre used to say, we were raw recruits when we joined Baba.
Mm.
So that it wasn't like they just came with all these divine qualities just oozing out of them.
It's nice to know. There's hope.
Yeah.
One emotion I don't have, Jeff, is or hasn't developed is empathy.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that emotion has developed in me.
What about empathy? It has or has not?
It has not developed in me.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's the case, but
yeah,
I don't feel empathy for others. It's come to me naturally at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to wonder how Baba would deal, I mean, convert somebody over into being empathetic. I mean, sometimes, of course, you have to get the other side. Well, I think if you try, Baba said everyone is first importance and no one is second. And if you focus your attention on others away from yourself, I think empathy will grow. In other words, empathy means that you are able to experience someone as they experience themselves, rather than as you experience them. You get over and experience them. You're able to look away from yourself, not to look through your personality or your values and see them. That you get that out of the way, and you get over into them and how they must feel to be themselves. You get interested in that, and that little by little creates an empathy where you're actually able to get out of Mayor Prasad over into this little kid, and you kind of get spellbound by what makes him tick. There isn't the self-reference. Self-reference is another curse, that Baba lovers have. You kind of, hey, I wonder what they think of me, or comparing. but getting the self-reference out of the picture. That's what I found in the mandala, especially Kitty. I mean, I think I read that thing one night about Kitty. Did you remember that? I read it, and how I go in to see Kitty, and inside of about 45 seconds, we'd be talking about me.
Yeah.
Ah, you know, I even made a determination to get into Kitty, but the current of her interest in me was so much greater than mine in her that I was trying to swim against a heavy current, and we would just always go back to me, because my looking away from myself wasn't as powerful as her looking away from herself. You know? It's
Yeah.
Yeah, I read, even in Dilruba days, Kathy talks about,
what's that? Oh,
in
Dilruba.
Dilruba days, Kathy talks about so many of, things like what you're talking about, that she never, the thought doesn't occur to her to think of herself.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like she's in there trying to, don't think of yourself, don't think of yourself, don't think of yourself. She's so interested in you that, their only thoughts about herself only come in if it would be helpful to you. That you might want to hear what she did, what Baba said to her. But it's not like she has an agenda to tell you what Baba said to her. But if it refers to something that you're interested in. I felt with Erich that he knew me better than I knew myself. And he was able to get over into me without the blindnesses. He's able to see me from the inside. He wasn't intrusive. He was just able to put his consciousness over into me, and he kind of knew what would help in a situation, but I had to ask him too. He didn't just, tell me how to live. Yeah. But empathy, you'd be surprised at how quickly you could pick up empathy. But it does require being interested in what makes someone else tick. Why are they that way? Why do they make that expression? Why do they have to always say that? Rather than, I don't want to hear that, you get into why. Why do they, why do they always talk about their dad? It's like, it's like a scientist. You kind of like, yeah.
That's great. That's great, Jeff. That's
Yeah.
super, very.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way at all. But it's great that the way that you put it is really awesome. Why think about why somebody is talking about their dad all the time, or why are they that way? That's great.
Yeah. And not only that, I've always felt like, to make the situation a win-win situation, if you say you're talking on and on about your the way your dad treated you, you're still talking about it 20 years later. I give myself the freedom to say, if your father was right here standing beside you, what is the one thing you would want to say to your dad? Now that's interesting to me. In other words, I'm not just a passive victim of you playing the same old tapes about your dad. I get to find out, you know, or I could say, was there anything funny that you found, or anything odd about your father? Now that might be interesting to me, and plus you get to talk about your dad, which is what you want to do. But I get to direct it in ways that's also interesting to me. You know what I mean? So you're not just
Yeah.
listening to somebody and oh my God, I gotta hear that again. I mean, rather than you take the law in your own hands. You know, when these like Jehovah Witnesses come to the door, or you know, some such people, I'll say, now, what if Jesus was standing right here? Now he's right here. What what would you ask him about? What would you ask him about your life? What would you want to know? What advice would you want to get from him? Now that's interesting to me. They want to talk about Jesus, but they want to, and it gets them off of their spiel, and
Yeah.
it gets it into something that's interesting to me. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that so that it's, and then when they say what they would say to Jesus, I'm kind of, you know, that's revealing something about what makes them tick.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than,
Awesome.
yeah, rather than just their mental, uh, you know, their mental whatever.
Mhm.
What? Yeah. What do you think, Alan?
Wow. I think I mean, it's interesting to, I don't know if I can personally relate to not feeling empathy. Um, I feel what I grown up just sort of in my body first as a younger person experiencing a lot of what other people were. You know, I'd walk into a room if there was somebody who was like feeling a lot of anxiety, they'd be kind of like in the corner having a bunch of anxiety. You know, I'd walk in and I'd suddenly start feeling that in my body, and I'd be like, "What's going on in here?"
Yeah.
And I, you know, talk to them, and they're like, "I'm having a lot of anxiety." And I'm like, "Oh yeah," and then I'd walk away, and I'd just kind of the feeling would kind of wash away or something, or even I just noticed being younger and walking through the streets, and like if I could look at somebody in the face, you know, even just passing by me, I would, you know, like walking ahead of me or something, and I can see them walking towards me. I just start to feel like all this sadness or this like pain in my, you know, something, and then they would say, you know, or they'd be on the phone and they'd be walking closer and closer, and they'd say something like, "Yeah, no, we just lost my dad last night, and I just felt," and I just was like, "Whoa!" And I
Yeah.
just could feel that wave of in my own physical body, and that actually helped with, you know, a lot of things. I don't know if it's a survival mechanism though.
No,
I don't, I don't know.
empathy is one of the highest forms of love, I feel.
Mm.
You know, but I'm just reminded there was a famous actor named John Gielgud, a British actor. And as a kid, he would walk behind people in the streets of London and he would mimic their walk and everything. And from from the walk, he could get the mentality. He could get the person. He
Oh
was
wow.
able to get in so that whenever he had to play a part in a movie, he would he would actually when he got the walk and he would work once he got the walk, everything came into place, came into
Yeah.
focus. In other words, but I mean, he had that kind of empathy. I mean, he got the different, the physical, the movements and everything, mimicking those. He was able to get to the personality behind it, and then play that part. Kind of
That,
neat.
that's the major thing that I really, that's why I got into improv, because what I would do is like start mimicking people or start doing that exact thing, and
Yeah.
I just like start getting into these whole characters, and then stories would come from that personality, and
Yeah.
that's what made it feel. But it was freeing though, because you could play somebody who was super closed-minded and upset or whatever, but you could, it's almost like just a mask that you could take off, and then
Yeah.
and I felt safe behind the mask though. That was
Yeah.
my thing.
Oh, that's great.
But I don't feel as safe when I don't have a mask on. That's why I tend to be more serious in my outer life, but when I'm on stage, I'm way more
Yeah.
I'm way more expressive.
Yeah.
But I think empathy does play into that. I never actually connected those two.
Yeah. Empathy is, I remember back in my college days when, no, it wasn't my college days, but I was in New York and Adi and Merji came. He was a Mandali. And I was just able to hang out with him. I got 3 weeks off of my job. I don't know why they let me off, but I did, and I just hung out with him. But back then, one of the things I prided myself on was I could look at somebody and I could tell how they were feeling.
Mm.
I mean, just by their body language, whatever. I just had this kind of intuitive thing. And then when the way they behave, you know, proved that my intuition was correct. And so I said to Adi, "What is this? What place does this have in Baba's life? What would Baba say to this?" And he said, that he called it. He said that's perception, to see how someone is feeling, but to feel how someone else feels from head to foot is a different order of experience.
Mm.
So he took my little peephole thing, being able to look there and see how someone's doing. But he's saying that's nothing. And the whole object, you have to feel what they feel from head to foot. So he put this thing into the the real larger context. And
That's right.
so it was very. I was glad that I asked them that. I got you could ask them things like this, and get, I mean, life-changing answers, because I was taking pride in that. And then how could I take pride in that when that's just a little peephole? Am I really feeling how someone else feels? I got to move into that.
And that seems like a terrifying endeavor. I remember when we spoke about it that you were saying that by the time you are in that type of experience or living that experience, then because I was thinking of it like, man, if I was just feeling everything from head to toe that everybody around me was, I would be totally overwhelmed. And then you had mentioned that actually if by the time you're at that place, you are closer to that place of being more one with everyone. And so there's no I reference, like I'm feeling what they're feeling. You just are experiencing what is experience in all of
Yeah,
totality.
I mean, I could always be much deeper in my feeling. I can perceive, but feeling how someone feels.
From head to toe.
I mean, I get calls like just the other day that someone's wife had died,
Oh,
and I have to be able to get there. I mean, if I'm going to really communicate, I have to feel what they're feeling, even over a telephone.
wow.
Ideally, if I can do that, then we're speaking the same language.
So you
But
don't keep a
if I'm
distance, you
just
mean?
sympathizing is all right, but sympathizing is, oh yeah, we feel really bad for you, but it's not particular enough. Not, yeah.
How do you develop that, Jeff? I know you talked about the why part of, asking why somebody is like that, but how do you develop that empathy when somebody tells you that somebody has passed away and You want to feel what they are feeling.
Well, I don't worry about that now. When you lose, of course, when you lose somebody that you had a great love for, I mean, then it's much easier.
Mm.
You know, you know
Yeah.
what they're going through. You can draw upon that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. You
But
know, it reminds
yeah,
me of this story of Taj Mahal, how Taj Mahal was built. I'm sure you know it.
yeah,
I, I told that story um, in my work, and this was at an event that we were all together, and everybody was supposed to give a 5-minute um, lightning talk. And my lightning talk was how Taj Mahal was built. And at the end of everybody's lightning talks, they took a poll of whose lightning talk was the best. And
mm-hmm.
I basically said, this is how empathy is. When the heart are in unison, you'll automatically generate that. The right things will happen. That's how I pitched it. I didn't talk about Baba or spirituality
Yeah.
or anything, but it was more towards
Yeah. Well, and what was
work-related,
that? There were
empathy,
various.
kind of empathy-oriented.
I mean, there are various stories of that, but what one was what aspect of it were you talking about?
Oh, I was talking about Shirazi, the guy from Iran, from Shiraz, who came and um, who basically built the model for Taj Mahal. You know that story, right? The guy who could sculpt just by looking at the hand. Shirazi could basically sculpt the person just by looking at the hand
Yeah.
of that person. That's the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very beautiful story. Everybody loved that story, and it was the best. It was in the polling. It was voted as the best story, best talk.
Yeah.
It really appealed to everyone.
Yeah.
That was a story told by Iruch to Baba when Baba asked Iruch to say something.
Yeah.
And Iruch told
I
the
know,
story.
it was very touching.
Yeah. But yeah, I know when the empathy, but that really resonates with what you said about, when you experience something similar to in your previous experience or current experience, and somebody else has the same thing, I think that's when you'll really feel.
Yeah. But it is possible also to feel what someone's feeling, even though you haven't had the same experience, but you can get it. I mean, I've been fortunate in listening to so many problems that people have had over the years. And by listening to them and getting into them, I learned, not to do that because when you do that, that's what happens to you. In other words, I learned a lot of what not to do by listening to people's problems. Because I saw when you do this and this and this, you wind up like that, you know. So, and I got it from the inside, you know what I mean, all the details, but I saw the inside, why not to do that? It seems like you're getting away with something, but then it all collapses on you. So I say, well, I'm not going to do that.
Mm.
You learn a lot.
Wait, so Meher Prasad, when you say that I'm just curious, and you don't have to share, but if you don't want to, but when you say you don't, it's hard for you to feel empathy, do you mean in terms of just in general, or just like when someone is sharing strong emotions, you're like, why are you feeling these emotions? Or like, what's the level of when you're saying, I don't necessarily feel empathy?
I can't relate to that that feeling that they are sharing. For example, if somebody says, like Jeff's example, if somebody tells me their dad or mom passed away or their wife passed away or whoever, I can sympathize, but the empathy part doesn't come to me naturally. And similarly, if somebody is um, angry about something, I can't feel that angry, or I can't understand why that anger is there. And similarly, emotions. And like the example you talked about, Alan, right? So when somebody is coming from there, and you can feel that part, if they're feeling sad or something, I can't relate to that. When somebody is super sad, sympathy comes fairly easily. I think it comes to everyone pretty easily, but the empathy part doesn't. When somebody is sad, I can pretend to be sad, but really, I don't feel that inside, that sadness.
No.
Internally, I can basically just remain sad. In my face, I don't jump around and things like that. But
Yeah.
But like I say, I think, by taking, getting interested. What is your work? What was your work?
Software. I work for Microsoft.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I say, if you kind of get interested in what makes someone tick the same way you would investigate some computer problem, why is that person? I mean, sometimes it can be kind of fun. You can see somebody is sitting on a bench in a park. You kind of wonder now, what are they, what are they like, and what are they likely to do? You kind of like, what are they going to do when they stand up? How is it that they're going to walk? Are they going to just stroll? Are they going to kind of go with a determination? I mean, they're kind of fun just to check on what you're picking up.
Yeah.
Or you watch a couple and they're kind of going, talking. Well, what are they really arguing about? What's off there? Why is that note? Why are they hitting discordant notes?
Yeah.
And you kind of get interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it would be if when you, Mayor Prasad, like for me, when you're saying this, I'm like, man, the first thought that came to my mind was almost like, God, wouldn't that be a relief? Like for me to not feel, to not, like, wouldn't that be like it just seems like you're just in your own business then, and you're just like, like I don't have to I don't have to kind of feel these things all the time. It's really, it's especially a challenge, especially like I was saying, when someone on the phone with me and just really launching a lot of rage at me, I start to feel that almost instantaneously before they even get their voices raised or something. I'm feeling just from the first, the phone's ringing, and right before the words come out, there's a sting of needles that are coming into my face and into my heart, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, I already know this is gonna be challenging, and I try to, at that point, open rather than tighten up and go defensive, and create a war with this person, because I know that it doesn't lead to anything. But I don't know, for a second I just imagine, like, just answer a phone and just be like, oh, you're okay, yeah, I totally understand, you're angry, and we'll just do the best we can. Have a nice day, sir. Like, just hang up and just be like, I don't care at all. I don't, but I mean, not like you don't care, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, I had that, I had that humorous thought, but no, I really appreciate you sharing this. I feel like it's vulnerable to share that, and I appreciate you sharing that about yourself. And it's
The problem with not having that is precisely what you were saying, Alan, is that the response that you do is really not wholehearted. When you don't have empathy, the response that comes from you is basically fake, really. It's not, because it's not coming from your heart. And so, if somebody is telling me their problem and they're feeling sad, and I'm blurting out something, it doesn't help them in any way at all, because it's response from me is not out of that. That's why the Taj Mahal story I was talking about, it's a perfect example of,
very shortly, okay?
it's a perfect example of what happens if you don't have empathy versus you have empathy.
Yeah. Well, didn't Jeff, you were saying like sometimes just even in terms of not feeling Baba all the time, we as Baba, being a Baba lover, being someone who's focused on him so much of the time, I mean, having him in your life, even saying his name, knowing his name is beneficial to others, whether we experience their, I mean, I don't know, I'm just, in terms of like empathy, I don't know, if you're a Baba lover, sometimes somebody off the street could talk to you and be really helped by something you said, and you might have not even felt like you were helpful, but who knows what's really going on, between you and Baba and the work you're doing for him on this lifetime, that just kind of came in for me, like, even though it might be a challenge, you still, I mean, it's great to have, I feel your presence, in these meetings, and I appreciate it. So maybe you don't feel empathy so easily, but yeah, I don't know. I just want to share that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. That what I've always thought, this is kind of my orientation, is I'm just, for eons of time, I've been following this soul, me. But there comes a time when you go out and check out all the other people, because all the other people are you. The whole idea that you're not these other people is just a mental construct. Everybody you meet is you. I mean, now, for that to become that needs to become more experiential. But everybody is you. And I always think, sometimes think, why don't they go and check out all the rest of the people in the neighborhood, meaning all the rest of themselves? Everybody is you, or everybody is Bob, however you want to look at it. And, you're getting to know your larger self. There's no such thing as Alan Manukian. Oh, that's not me. I mean, we kind of plug into this, you're over there, you got jurisdiction of that form, and I got jurisdiction of this. That's all man-made. So it breaks down, and then the soul, instead of getting stuck in a little shack of one person, you knock down the walls and you start living over a larger area. So the spiritual life is about expansion of being, not getting from point A to point B. I mean, Erich used to say, this whole world is yours, but you have to claim it. Now, how audacious is that? But it's actually a fact.
This whole world is yours.
But you have to claim it. Through love, you take what you experience is outside of you, and you bring it in, and it becomes yours, with a capital Y.
Wow.
In other words, if you love, I've said, to give this example, if you love birds and you learn the names of all the birds and and you know their calls and everything, after a while the birds are flying around inside of you. Because of love, they're flying around inside of you, and you expand. If you, like I've really had a close connection with kids all my whole life. So I got a whole playground inside of me. Kids know that when they come around me, that there's a playground. I'll be in an airplane, and sitting there reading a book, and a kid will just come right down the aisle and just, or over to a table in a restaurant and just, hi, how you doing? Because because I've opened up the playground. I mean, by knowing kids so well, I've got a playground inside, and it expands your being. So it's like that. And everybody that you don't like, you're that much smaller. You know, you're basically cutting your own throat.
Yeah.
Or shooting yourself in the foot. We are that large. Eventually, we just go on until we are as large as the universe.
Didn't Baba say somewhere in the discourses that even mental, because like the strength of, or the potency of mental contact, it's like I remember reading in discourses him saying, you know, just as you meet people in person and you interact with them, and the way that you interact with them, you know, if you say hi, hello, or you say I hate you, like that's going to affect the way that you interact with them in the physical plane, but also in the mental plane. Even just thinking of someone, or the imagination you put towards other people, whether it's hatred or love or whatever, that affects just subtly or mentally that relationship.
It goes right there.
It's just like meeting them right there in that moment. You're meeting them as you're thinking of them. I just thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
In terms of like thinking hateful or loving thoughts, it's pretty powerful.
And if you can think of either other people as yourself or as Baba in disguise, then you're projecting a largeness on them rather than a little puny personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I asked Darwin, what was it like when Baba looked at you? And he said, you know, Baba didn't see all your little, what can I say, your little melodrama. He saw you saw the soul. So you got the expanded experience of yourself when Baba looked at you. And I could always tell who had gone over to see Kitty. Because when they came back on the center, I'd be working away, you know, they'd just feel like $1 million. Because she affirmed the soul in them and not their ego.
Wow.
She was affirming the largeness of them, which she just did just kind of spontaneously, and not their little petty personality self.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And that's why people felt great. They felt like, wow, someone kind of saw my spiritual potential and not my, you know, my hang up of a personality, you know.
Yeah, that's the hardest one on this list of the 5 or 6, my wish by Meher Baba. That the number 5, with the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. That one's the most challenging for me on the whole list to think about. I mean, or to try to live. It's not. I don't know. Help and serve others with the understanding that Baba is in everyone. That's hard to remember on a daily when you're in the world.
Yeah, I know it's hard to not just think of people as people.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. I mean, we're just so habituated to responding to people as people instead of as Baba in disguise.
I find it a little bit easier to think other people as a form of myself than Baba in them. You know, that's a little bit, I find it a little bit hard to always imagine Baba in people. But it's easier for me when for me to think, oh, they're just a form of my own self.
Yeah.
that comes to me easily. No,
Yeah.
I mean relatively easily.
Yeah, that's good. I know I have more problems. I mean, I can't relate as much to Baba in others, Baba as others. Baba as others works best for me when I'm
Mhm.
so. In other words, this is Baba playing the role of a flaky, you know, guy with earphones on and everything. I mean, no, I mean to see them as you know, I can relate to them more as Baba in
Yeah.
disguise. Bob is playing the
Yeah.
role of, you know, a guy from Seattle, you know, that's in the computer, you know, and he's playing that part.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that because Baba being in somebody, that kind of like, well, then who is the thing on the outside, and you know, how does the outside relate to the inside?
Right.
When I think of people as Baba in disguise, you know, Baba playing the role of Mayor Chand, um, I can that unifies the whole thing.
That is the difference between we and Mandali. Mandali sees everyone in even a newcomer, new one who comes, sees Baba in them. But we never see Baba in others. That is the subtle most difference between Mandali and our. They are really the Baba's Mandali is really personified by Baba's love,
Yeah,
and we are still elbowed learners.
yeah,
We are still. That's what I feel is that's the reason Mandali can have a lot of. They see everyone. That's what I still remember. One day you were giving a talk there. Said when Irich was talking in the Mandali, suddenly some newcomer comes. He gets up and he takes the embrace because he feels that he is also feels that his Baba has come, and that's the reason he gives an embrace, and he feels that he gives his love to him also. That we cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Although don't underrate yourself, you know.
I like the comment of Civil Wars Jeff yesterday you made. That was so hilarious.
What was that?
The comment about Civil Wars, that was so hilarious yesterday you made.
Huh? I forgot. The
So
Civil
about, it was in the context of, I forget what. Civil Wars.
Yeah, I do recall saying something about Civil War, but I can't. Yeah, I can't think of the context.
It was in the context of differences between people, between workers, and that kind of a thing that we were talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't fully remember the entire
Yeah.
discussion. It was in the context of differences between people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Our clothes are different, but the essence is the same.
Yeah.
It really is, and I mean, Bob is moving us toward this. You know, we're going to get. It's just a matter of time. Our experience is going to be more beautiful and deeper.
I wanted to share this before I have to go here,
Uh-huh.
but what you just said reminded me of in page 45 in the Everything and the Nothing. It's called upheaval, and I was like, man, is it really got to be like this, Bob? He said, when an atom is split, an infinite amount of energy is released. Similarly, when my silence is broken and I utter the word, infinite wisdom will be released. When an atom bomb strikes the earth, it causes vast devastation. Similarly, when the word I utter strikes the universe, there will be a great material destruction, but there will also take place a tremendous spiritual upheaval. To me, that whole concept is, with the word civil war, or the word, I don't know, the place where I feel like this world is heading to, with this everything, this upheaval that's happening. It seems like it's heading towards that word being uttered. But it's places like this, like the tavern, where I don't know what the right word is. It's like in the tavern I get sober. It's kind of backwards. I either get sober or I get intoxicated with God's love. But either way, I appreciate I
Yeah.
appreciate you all.
Yeah, we used to hang out with I mean, we'd go, out to morning arti, then we'd bike, go into town and eat and go out to Merazad, be out there all day, and then come back to Mehrabad
Wow.
for the evening arti. Then we'd go back into town, and then we'd hang out with Adi until midnight. And it would be just like this. You could ask him anything.
Wow.
It was like fantastic. I mean, and
Wow. Did anybody record those late night sessions?
no, nobody, we didn't have tape recorders. I mean, eventually some things were done, but not, there was so much was lost.
Wow. That's just the way that Baba would have it.
Yeah, that was really something.
Wow.
But yeah, it got to be like the tavern in the sense that there's just a nice, pleasing kind of uh, glowing quality. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I gotta get to bed. I gotta get ready for work tomorrow. Back in it.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Oh yes.